This is my final paper for my Introduction to Criminal Justice class with Professor Cintron. In my first page, I talked about the three core components of the criminal justice system, which consist of the police, the courts, and correctional agencies. I then stated some of the responsibilities that each one of the components have. I continued after stating their responsibilities, why they are important to us as a people. In my second and third pages, I spoke about problems that arise in our criminal justice system. Though there are many problems, here are some of the examples: mental illness, geriatric offenders, AIDS, and overcrowding. Mental illness is not a problem in terms of being something that is wrong, but a problem because of how many mentally ill people are in prison, and how prisons do not have the proper means to care for them. Geriatric offenders are a problem for the system because, similarly to mental illness prisoners, the system does not have the ability to provide them with proper care. AIDS is a problem because it is not easy to know who has AIDS, and the methods that can be used can be expensive or illegal. Overcrowding is a problem in itself, but it also causes other problems, such as being beaten or raped. In my paper, I added an example of a young man who was in an overcrowded prison, and as a result of that, he was being beaten and he had been raped multiple times, and he unfortunately took his own life. In my fourth page, I explained what the UCR is, and then I expressed how it went through many changes to now be the UCR/NRBRS. I talked about the UCR's primary function and core procedures. Its primary function for the original UCR was the differentiation between and the crime index, and its procedures were the 7 offenses to calculate statistics. I then stated the updated UCR/NRBRS primary functions and core procedures. Its functions are to gain details about everything including the statistics, and its procedures are to document each felony and obtain information on the weapons used in the crime. In my 5th and 6th page, I compared and contrasted the historical past and current criminal justice practices. Some of the ways that they have contrasted was retribution, the fact that in the historical past they did not have any trials, incapacitation, in terms of in historical terms they would cut off people's hands and arms, or hands and feet, or arms, or whatever, limbs that they had used to commit the crime in order to stop them from committing the crime again. But nowadays, incapacitation is just by removing offenders from society in order for them to stop crime in general. Another way they contrasted was rehabilitation and restoration, which back then in the historical past were not thought of, and were not available to criminals. Some ways that they compared the historical past and the current criminal justice practices were retribution. Again, we still have the idea of retribution, but we have it in a different way of just desserts. And another way that they also compare is the acceptance ideas. They both accepted ideas of indeterminate sentencing. On my 7th and 8th pages, I first described every single one of the 9. Then I explained that the Pelian principles are relevant to the American criminal justice system today. Some examples of the Pelian principles that I have inserted in my paper are: they moved away from crime and disarray, and the abilities to perform their obligations is based off of people's acceptance. Are they still relevant today? Yes, the Pelian principles are still relevant today. In my paper, I had an example of where they are found in his mission statement. In my 9th and 10th pages, I recorded all the procedures that an offender undergoes and their progression through the system. I also explained why they were important. Some examples of the procedures are investigation, warrant, arrest, and booking. On the last and final page of my essay, which is the I made a list of all the courtroom procedures, and then I pointed out what each procedure consists of. Some of the procedures are trial initiation, jury selection, and opening statements. In conclusion, this was my final paper. Thank you.